can we collectively lower the bar? And not because we don't deserve greatness, we don't deserve abundance, but we need to collectively lower the bar as modern moms because we are all like out of control with our like organic meals and our meal planning and our bento box lunches and our sensory friendly play. We need to collectively take a deep exhale. You can lower your bar. You can downshift. Change the game. Change the definition for success. Hey, I'm Brooke Jean, therapist, recovering perfectionist, and struggling working mom on a mission to normalize normal. If you're an overwhelmed, high-achieving, and secretly anxious mama, struggling to balance it all and on the brink of burnout, you are in the right place. Here is where we talk about hard things like balancing work and family life, mental health, and how to navigate life-altering transitions. Nothing is too taboo here. In my conversations, I'll teach you how to let go of who you think you're supposed to be in order to create the life you've always wanted. Get ready to embrace your messy, shed the shoulds, and find freedom through a life unperfected. This is the Unperfected Pod. Hey mama, welcome back. I am so glad you're here. Before we get into this week's episode, I wanted to let you know about an event that's happening live and in person here in Denver, Colorado with yours truly. It's happening next Thursday, December 7th from 4 to 6 p.m. at The Den in Denver, Colorado. It is going to be an evening filled of connection and commiseration and live coaching with me. I'm going to be sharing the 3 ways to unperfect your life so you can actually start living it workshop, which includes subconscious reprogramming and building your mental health toolkit and how to shed the shoulds and the importance of normalizing normal so we can reduce shame and what shame does to the body and just all that neuroscience, psychology, energetic stuff that I just love to teach. And if you haven't been to the Den in Denver yet, it is just such a beautiful place for moms and parents, really. It's a coffee shop, it's a meeting space, there's a playroom. It is just an absolutely magical place, and you've got to come check it out. So make sure that you RSVP today because spots are limited and this event will sell out. I cannot wait to share the space with you. Go to www.thedendenver.com backslash unperfected mama. And I cannot wait to see you there. Now let's get into it. Welcome back to the Unperfected Pod, where we normalize normal and find freedom through a life unperfected. What is up, Mama? Brooke Jean here. I am your host, and I am your biggest supporter coming out of this holiday week. It's the Monday after the Thanksgiving holiday, and guess what I did last night? I stayed up till 1:30 because my sweet pea got like a stomach bug or something and was throwing up all night. And that was the worst one she's had. Isn't it so, so sad when they're little and they don't understand things like throwing up and they're just totally disturbed and distraught by it? And you're like trying to take care of them, but also trying to teach them that they're going to be okay. But you understand why they're kind of scared and confused. But then you're also bone ass tired. And it's just a real disaster around here. Tony had to close all weekend at Target. So he's like working his fanny off during the busiest time of the season. And I mean, what are we even doing? What are we even doing? He closes again tonight. He's currently asleep in a recliner with Chloe. They're both sleeping while I am doing the podcast. I have a client today. I had a connection coffee with another podcast. I mean, we're just doing life. Like, this is the life of a working mom. Like, most things don't go to plan. You're exhausted. You're in some version of an anxiety or shame spiral. And, you're just coordinating. You got to coordinate with the school that we're not coming to school. You got to coordinate with the clients to rearrange the day. You got to coordinate with dance that we're not coming to dance. You got to coordinate with the carpool that you can't do carpool tonight because you're not coming to dance. I mean, it's just But listen, I am ready to talk more about anxiety. So you may have noticed that I've got a little bit of an anxiety series weaving into this podcast, which means, about one every 4 episodes, I'm dropping another thought or tip or therapeutic technique or something around anxiety. Because you know why? Because every freaking mom I know deals with some version of anxiety. And so if you go back through all of the episodes on the Unperfected Pod, you'll see that we've talked about regulating your nervous system, which is such an important episode. You'll see that I taught a technique called diffusion, which is putting distance between the scary things your mind is telling you and what's actually real. It's a mindfulness, acceptance, and commitment therapy technique. It's one of my go tos. Shout out to the book, what is it called? My brain, I'm like so brain dead. I feel like I always say that. I'm like brain dead every Monday. Maybe Monday is not the best day to record the podcast, but I also feel brain dead on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday sometimes. The Happiness Trap. Okay, if you have not, go out and buy the book, The Happiness Trap. It's all about acceptance and commitment therapy. It's all about these mindfulness techniques to help you manage anxiety so it's not managing you. It's an easy read. There's exercises in it. I highly, highly recommend it to every single client that I work with. It's that good of a therapeutic book. Anywho, I taught you on the podcast how to diffuse from your negative ass thoughts, which is put distance between them and your reality. We also have talked about parts work and how you have an inner child and you have an inner adolescent and you have these protective parts and these anxious parts. And how can you identify which part is feeling the anxiety and gentle parent that part that is feeling anxiety? We've also talked about befriending your anxiety, because to be at war with your own mind is to perpetuate the anxiety. So when you can befriend your anxiety, when you can see that your brain is just doing what it's developed to do to keep you safe, okay? It's just a brain function, all right? It's a nervous system response. It's not something you're choosing. It's happening automatically. And so, why be at war with it? Can we see our anxiety differently, to surrender to it, to create some spaciousness with it? Because it's in that spaciousness that you can reframe and reprogram and choose a new thought and choose a new pattern and a new behavior and a new habit. Okay. But to give it so much energy by being at war with it, you just continue to build it up. So, those are some of the things that we've already been talking about as it relates to anxiety. And today, I want to talk about the relationship that I've identified between perfectionism and anxiety. And it's almost like, is it the chicken or the egg theory? Like, is my anxiety creating my perfectionism, or is my perfectionism creating my anxiety? And what I'll say is they play well together. They're cousins. But today I do want to unpack a little bit about how perfectionism might be fueling your anxiety. And so here's what I've noticed. What I've noticed is perfectionism in general is rooted in fear. It is a trauma response. Somewhere along the way in your precious development, you learned that you needed to be this perfect child to be loved, to be safe, to be included. It's a survival mechanism. Well, if I'm the best pitcher on the team, then I'm safe. If I don't cause any more problems in my family system, I won't be a burden. If I am kind and nice and, nurturing to others, I notice people like me more. When I adapt to the room, or when I adapt to the expectations that are set upon girls and women and mothers, I notice that it's easier for people to digest me if I don't take up too much space, if I'm just not intimidating enough, right? So, somewhere along the way, our precious little systems learned, this is called conditioning. I also have a podcast about this psychological phenomenon that takes place. Somewhere along the way, we learn, like, if I'm just better, if I'm just the best, if I'm just really good, if I'm perfect, I'm safe. People like me. I'm validated. I'm lovable. I'm worthy. And so we start to develop this strive for being the best, this strive for being perfect, but it's rooted in fear of rejection. It's rooted in trauma response. It's not always this ego thing of like, I just want to be the best. I mean, some of it might be, but even if it is rooted in your ego of, I just want to be the best, your ego is coming from a place of fear. The ego loves to be in fear. Okay. So if perfectionism is rooted in fear and you have subconscious core beliefs around not being enough, that you have to do more, those beliefs are going to influence the way that you see and perceive and show up in the world. So that core belief of like, it's not enough. I'm not enough. I need to be better. I need to do more. That is going to flavor what you see in the world. You're going to start looking at where you're falling short. You're going to start comparing yourself to other moms on the internet. You're going to start criticizing your body in the mirror. You're going to start controlling what you're eating and restricting your body. So your thoughts are all around your assessment of like your not enoughness. Are you guys with me? And those thoughts are unpleasant and negative in nature. So they are going to release cortisol and adrenaline through your brain and body. And that hormonal surplus in your body is felt and experienced as anxiety. Okay. So the perfectionism is the belief that I'm not enough and I need to be more and do more and have more and show more for myself. And that influences the thoughts that we have. And those thoughts release the hormones that we label emotions. And that felt experience of the climbing out to do more, the trying to keep up, right? I've called out one of the reasons why we're so sick as moms is because we're no longer keeping up with the Joneses. We're now keeping up with the Kardashians. And if you had any of this perfectionism to begin with, this is just like a disaster for us, right? Because we're trying to keep up. We're trying to keep up. And in that trying to keep up, we are in a constant state of comparison and not enoughness and hormones that feel like shit in our body. And here's kind of the cycle that I've identified, right? So you have the perfectionism, which fuels your anxiety. And from there, we get really uncomfortable, right? So once we're in this anxiety, we're uncomfortable. It feels like a nervousness. It feels like a nauseousness. It feels like a racing heart. It feels like racing thoughts that are really nasty. It feels like catastrophizing and living in worst case scenario thoughts. It feels like frozen. It feels like irritable. It feels like stuck. And that shit gets uncomfortable. So then we engage in some version of a self-sabotaging habit to cope, which looks like controlling things, which looks like achieving more and being super busy to avoid being in your own body, which looks like any of the distractions, social media, reality television, which looks like any of the impulsions and addictions, shopping, eating, drinking, drugging, cheating, all of these things, gambling. Because somewhere deep down, there's a part of you that knows this idea that we have about the perfect woman, the perfect mother, the perfect person is not fucking possible. There is a part of you that knows I am going to die trying, but I am not ever going to get there to that keeping up with the Kardashians. And there might even be a part of you that believes you don't deserve it, even if you could. You don't deserve that level of joy or love or success or fulfillment or contentment. And so we do what we need to do to get out of that discomfort. We self sabotage. That leads us to a shame spiral. I did it again. I'm less than. I'm terrible. I'm a bad person. I'm a bad mom. And because of that shame, here's the final step of the cycle. We double down on the perfectionism. We try even harder. We restrict even more. We control even more. And then that fires up that anxiety again. And then that anxiety again gets really uncomfortable in our body. So then we self sabotage again. And then we self sabotage into the shame spiral. And then we double down on the perfectionism. Does this sound familiar, my loves? Wow. When I even just think about how much energy I've given to this cycle and what I could have used that precious energy on instead. But I just want to normalize the cycle. I think the cycle can go in the opposite way too. I think anxiety, let's say you have anxiety in your body as a trauma response, that can absolutely make you want to control things and perfect things to cope. The perfectionism can, in and of itself, be the self sabotage. And we still have the shame element there. So, what I'm suggesting is, I guess the wheel could turn either way. I haven't gotten to the full bottom of this, and I don't think there's one model that fits all, anyways. But I'm saying it's like this anxiety can fuel the perfectionism, which can fuel the self sabotage, which fuels the shame, which then we double down in the anxiety, or the other way around. Perfectionism fuels our anxiety, gets uncomfortable in our body. We self sabotage to cope. We go into shame. We double down on the perfectionism. Whichever way you're rolling, honey, on the hamster wheel, the gig is up. The gig is up. The gig is up. It's exhausting you. There is no such thing as the perfect fill in the blank, whatever you're trying to be. Okay. It's objective. It's a moving target. It's a ceiling that keeps climbing. So the answer isn't to try harder or to double down on your perfection. The answer is to build some awareness around what the heck is happening and get off the hamster wheel all together. Get off the hamster wheel. You might want to get curious about, and truly from a place of like love and self compassion, what is it that I'm trying so hard to do? So let's say I want to be the perfect entrepreneur. Why am I trying for that? What is that really doing for me? Well, I want to make enough money and I want to provide for my family and I want us to be safe and secure. Okay. Do I need to be perfect to do that? Why are you striving for the perfect body or the perfect marriage? What deeper and more vulnerable need is that filling in an unconscious way? Because I think that in a conscious way, it's not. There is no such thing as the perfect marriage. There is no such thing as the perfect body. There is no such thing as the perfect parent. It's a moving target. But why are you engaging in this endless cycle of trying to be that? And who the hell created that ideal that's in your head in the first place? So if we choose to get conscious, I am in the cycle of perfectionism and anxiety. And I am also making a choice to no longer participate in that cycle. And I am also going to redefine what success is and looks like and feels like, because it isn't perfectionism. When you see people that are truly like stuck in the grips of perfectionism, yeah, they might be functioning at a high level. In fact, a lot of us are. They might have a successful career. They might have what looks like a successful marriage and a house and a boat and the vacations and all the things. But what's going on internally is freaking psychological warfare a lot of the time. So there isn't this like equivalence to the more you try for perfectionism, the more results you're going to get that are actually sustainable. That will carry you to a certain extent until you burn out, your brain and body shuts down and says, "We're not doing this anymore." And you blow up your life and you start over like I did at 33, right? It's not sustainable. The try harder, hustle harder isn't the gig anymore. being more awake, being more conscious, being more intentional, healing and getting clear on what actually matters and allowing those things to guide you, having some fun and some play and some joy and some pleasure, taking care of yourself, showing up again and again and again and being in your integrity and in your values, believing in yourself, that's the new gig. That's the new framework for what you want in your life. But perfecting, oh man, that is just a constant slew of adrenaline and cortisol and just never enoughness. It's never going to be enough. And your way of getting there is going to burn you out at some point if it hasn't already. And so make a choice with me right now. I'm getting off this hamster wheel. I'm no longer striving for perfection because it's bullshit. I'm no longer trying to keep up with whomever it is you're keeping up with. Maybe it's not the Kardashians, but it's some mom fitness influencer on Instagram, or maybe it's someone you look up to in your community. Like, let's bow out of the comparison game together, collectively, because you're already doing enough. You're already beautiful enough. You're already amazing. Is there more abundance? Sure. But that only comes from a place of enoughness, not of scarcity and wanting more. So the comparison game is putting us in this like chokehold. So we have to choose. We have to notice that we're in it. That's the awareness. And B, we have to choose to opt out. I'm not comparing myself. I'm comparing myself to myself. I'm comparing myself to the generation that came before me and the generation that came before them. And when I look at that, I know, damn, we're doing some good stuff here. We're doing some good work here. So I kind of alluded to these 5 steps, but I'm going to state them again in case you want to write them down, or I repeat myself in hopes that information might stick at some point to be helpful for you. But the step 1 is awareness. The step 2 is self-compassion. Again, understanding that you have fallen into this trap of perfectionism and anxiety out of survival, out of trauma response, your brain trying to keep you safe, your nervous system responding to the not enoughness that is shown everywhere you look, the conditioning in your, learning and development growing up. It came from a place of wanting to be enough. And there's something really freaking innocent about that deserves a lot of self-compassion. It didn't come from a place of you wanting to hurt others. It didn't come from a bad place, but it's hurting you to stay in it. So we got to have awareness, and then we got to have some self-compassion. Number 3 is the deeper belief reprogramming around what enoughness is. So this is where you do the hypnosis. This is where you do the journaling. This is where you do the brain spotting or the EMDR or the affirmations and the mantras or the EFT tapping. Okay. There's a lot of different roads that you can get to subconscious reprogramming. But what we want to do is we want to start to uproot the beliefs that told us we're not enough and we need to be doing more or being more. We want to uproot the belief that a perfect girl and a good girl is this. And we want to overwrite those with new beliefs that says, I am enough. I deserve to feel good. I am worthy of love. I am lovable. I am safe. I have gifts and talents. Okay. And the more that you choose to do your healing around whatever created that belief in the first place, the easier it will be to be in the neuroplasticity of it. Right. So any trauma healing that you can do around the memories, whether you have them consciously or unconsciously, that created your feelings of unworthiness, that created your beliefs of unworthiness. We want to do the trauma work around that. And I highly encourage you to reach out to a trauma-informed therapist for that. But then we also want to play with the mindfulness techniques and the neuroplasticity techniques where We start to remind ourselves every day that we are worthy as we are, that we are enough. Write it on a sticky note, put it in your planner. Where are you going to see it every single day? I have sticky notes throughout my entire house. And I have slowly but surely started to reprogram old beliefs from everything to I am disgusting to I am a bad person to I am lovable and I deserve to feel good. Now I can sit here and tell you with full confidence that I deserve to feel good. Now, do I do the actions I need to do to make that happen every single day? No, because hashtag unperfected, but I'm a work in progress. And at least I have a better shot at life if I believe truly to my core that I deserve to feel good versus I'm bad. What behaviors are you going to engage in? What self sabotage are you going to do if you believe that you're bad or terrible or wrong or disgusting or whatever, which our traumas are what have us believing those things. So you want to heal the traumas and you want to engage in the mindfulness and neuroplasticity work around reprogramming, rewiring your subconscious mind. Okay. That's hard work, y'all. That's going to require more than just the podcast. I'm sorry to tell you, but it's true. Then the number 4 is habits work, which is what I was just talking about, right? Habits work is okay. So if instead of engaging in perfectionism, where can I engage in more pleasure or joy or enoughness or self care? When I'm feeling anxious, instead of engaging in my self sabotaging behaviors, where can I walk and dance and cry and journal and paint and do something different? Our habits determine the quality of our lives. Our days are filled with just a bunch of mini habits. And so we want to start to create new habits that create new outcomes that are more self loving and self kind, right? So, how you start the day sets the tone for your day. What is your morning ritual? Are you meditating? Are you moving your body? Are you nourishing your mind, body, and spirit? Or are you taking a sledgehammer to your mental health and getting on social media and looking at the news first thing in the morning? Right? When you start to get anxious, I want you to try to move that through your body in any form of movement that feels good. Don't do what feels good for your neighbor. Maybe shaking feels good. Maybe dancing feels good. Maybe going and walking around the block feels good. Maybe going to a yoga class feels good. Maybe rolling onto the floor because you feel frozen in your chair and just stretching feels good. Maybe putting your legs up a wall with a neck stretcher feels good. It doesn't matter, but we want to move our bodies. And if we start to create new habits in response to our anxiety, we can maybe avoid some of those self-sabotaging behaviors that kick us into the shame spiral that then have us doubling down on the perfectionism. So the book Atomic Habits by James Clear is phenomenal. Another one that's highly recommended because he really unpacks how to create new habits, how to work out of old unhealthy habits, why habits work the way they do from like a neuroscience and psychological and behavioral standpoint. Just so much goodness in that book. And number 5 is set a new bar for success. I say this on the podcast, I say this online, it's going to be in the book. Like, can we collectively lower the bar? And not because we don't deserve greatness, we don't deserve abundance, but we need to collectively lower the bar as modern moms because we are all like out of control with our organic meals and our meal planning and our bento box lunches and our sensory friendly play and our, communes that we're building and all and then the pressure to like participate in all the things and bake for the things and show up for the things, but still to be in business and also to be a size 2 and also to get our mustache waxed. Like it's too much, my loves. And listen, if some of those things are truly core values to your existence, they're soul-led desires. You genuinely care about them and you enjoy engaging in them and you want them to exist in your family dynamic. Beautiful. That's cool. If you're into the nutrition I applaud you, but you don't need to be into the nutrition and all the other 20 categories at this 10 out of 10 level. You'll get to choose what matters most to you and your family, whether that's nutrition or quality time or adventures or comedy or music or movement or whatever the hell. But like, we all need to stop trying to do them all and then pretending like it's all good when we're self sabotaging the shit out of the shit every night or every weekend or every day or whatever that looks like for you. We need to collectively take a deep exhale and shed the freaking shoulds and change the game, change the definition for success. So, whatever that looks like for you, whatever this image is that you have in your mind right now about, like, I'll feel like I've made it win, I'll feel like a good enough mom win. I want you to either draw that or journal that. And I want you to see on paper how ridiculous that is, how hard that must be for someone to try to achieve that, and the costs that it's cost you to continue to try to achieve that. And then I want you to regulate your nervous system, maybe do a little 5-minute meditation and ask yourself, what is a more appropriate definition of success for me and my family? Is it that we just have unconditional love in our home? Is it that we spend one meal together instead of all 7 meals together, dinners? Is it that our kids are involved in one thing, but they don't need to be in 3 things all at the same time? Is it that I make this amount of money versus this amount of money, but I have more free time? What is it? Can we redefine success? I think we need to. I think it's imperative to our mental and emotional well being. And what I want you to know is you may be out there right now and your fear or your ego or your nervous system might be saying, "Oh, hell no, Brooke. I'm not slowing down. I'm not giving up on the gas. I'm not lowering. You're asking me to lower the bar. If I stop this train now, it'll never start again." I'm here to tell you that's a lie. You can lower your bar. You can downshift. I just want you to be more intentional. I just want you to be more mindful with where you give your time, energy, and sanity. You will still be an incredible mom. You will still have influence on whatever it is you choose to be engaged with. You will still do a good job. You'll probably even do it better when you're just focused on a few things and not all the things. But you're going to feel better in your mind, body, and spirit when you let go of this intense pressure to be all the things. You're not going to get there. And even if you did, then what? Then what? People that finally achieve whatever they thought their level of success was, they don't even sit in it longer than 2 minutes before they're on to the next thing. Maybe you relate to that personally. People that win the lottery blow it because they don't have the right belief systems around abundance. So you could get there, and then what? You start all over again with the next level? It's not just about climbing. Sometimes it's just about coasting and existing and finding the good in the day and finding the joy in the moment and just being present in the here and the now. I shared with you guys last week that my kind of my body, hello, my word for my 43rd trip around the sun is going to be presence and embodiment, because I really want to learn how to get better just being in the here and the now, in the present moment, and just being fully alive in it and turned on by it in my body, and stopping just thinking so far ahead of how much more there is to do, and also not being too far behind in all the things that have happened that I have resentments about, but trying to give myself permission to be in the present more and more and more and more. And I think when we collectively exhale and lower the bar, it will afford us the opportunity to be more in that present. And that's actually where the magic is. That's actually where the goods are. But man, somewhere along the way, we learned the goods are out there. Like if I just keep trying harder, I'll get to this place I've created in my mind. And when I get there, all is going to be right in the world. And what a freaking disappointment that that's not actually how it works. But what we can do is we can choose to opt out of the perfectionism cycle. We can choose to tend to our anxiety and manage it so it's not managing us. And we can choose a new path to success, and we can choose to see the success in the here and the now and in the moment that we already have. So let me summarize the 5 tips that I gave you to get off the perfectionism anxiety hamster wheel. Number 1 is we got to have the awareness that we're on the hamster wheel. We got to have awareness that we're being drawn to perfectionism, that we're being fueled by perfectionism, that we're being fueled by this fear of being enough and fitting in and being worthy. Then we got to show ourselves some self-compassion because listen, we didn't develop all this for freaking shits and giggles, okay? This isn't fun for us. It has kept us safe. It has kept us achieving and performing. That has afforded us some good things in the world, but it's not sustainable. Let's have some compassion for the ways in which that we've tried to survive a hard world. Let's have some compassion for our brains and bodies just doing what brains and bodies do to survive. Okay? Number 3 is that deeper work around the reprogramming your core beliefs that are telling you you're not enough. Whether that's through the trauma healing and then the neuroplasticity mindfulness work of reframing and reprogramming your thoughts and beliefs. Number 4 was we got to create new habits. Our days are defined by our habits. So, instead of shaming ourselves, get out and move your body. Instead of sitting in your worst case scenario thinking, journal out your thoughts, write them down on paper. Let's start to create some new habits that help us get off the hamster wheel and take better care of ourselves, or that help us cope with being on the hamster wheel until we can get off the hamster wheel. And number 5 was setting a new bar for success, redefining success and looking at it as an inside job and a present moment experience versus some outside tangible thing we need to accomplish or obtain or achieve. So, mama, if you're anything like me, we've been trying long and hard to get somewhere, I don't even know where, and it has fueled our anxiety. And we have engaged in some behaviors to cope with that anxiety that has created some shame for us, which has then influenced us to double the frick down on our perfectionism. And that cycle has exhausted us. And we have confused ourselves with what actually matters. And we are bombarded with images of other moms doing it, quote unquote, perfectly. And we are bombarded with blogs and mom influencers and just all the information you can imagine around how to do things better. It's become too much. Shed it all and get in your body and remember that you came to this earth to be the parents that you are for your child, and it's enough. And we can always strive to be a better person tomorrow, but we don't need this like intense pressure to get there. We just need some awareness and we just need some raised consciousness and some self-compassion. We don't need the pressure. Okay? So I hope that whether it's in this episode today around how perfectionism fuels anxiety or any of the previous episodes that I've shared around anxiety, I hope that you're starting to build your toolkit, your mental health toolkit to help you manage the anxiety so it's not managing you. And I have something really exciting that I want to announce. If you want more tools for your tool belt for your mental health. I'm talking anxiety help, boundaries help, energetics, psychology, neuroscience, regulating the nervous system, learning how to reprogram subconscious beliefs, all of the things that y'all know that I love to teach on. we are going to be creating a mental health membership that we're going to launch at the end of January 2024. And it's going to be accessible, it's going to be affordable. And what you're going to get is every tool that I've ever used and learned and imagined, along with live coaching from me every week. And Megan on the team, you guys know she's freaking amazing too. And so if you haven't already, make sure that you join our email list, which you can get to my email list from the website, www.liveunperfected.com. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where we post everything too, at Brooke Jean Unperfected. You can also join us in the Mommy's Mental Health Matters Facebook group. But what we'll be doing is a 3-day masterclass to gear up for it. And then we'll be launching and opening up membership end of January. So if you've been wanting to learn more about this stuff and be in the conversation and get more support and be in the energy of Megan and I, this is going to be a very easy way to do it. And I hope that we can basically serve lots and lots and lots of people in this way with their mental health. It's not therapy, and we'll be very clear on the difference between what this is and what that is, but it is a mental health membership that is going to completely support your mental and emotional well-being and beyond, because you guys know that I like to talk about how all of these phenomenon in the world overlap, whether it's energetics and astrology and your mental health. I just love it. So be on the lookout for that. And I hope that you found a tool today that you can put in your toolbox. And I hope you'll join us there to grow and expand that toolbox, because when one mama chooses to heal herself, there is such a magnificent ripple of goodness that happens. And so that's our mission, is to help as many people as we can. So take care of yourselves and therefore each other. And we will see you same time, same place next week. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Unperfected Pod. I hope this episode helped you feel a little less alone and a little more inspired to be you. If you like what we're doing here, I would so appreciate that you subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. If you do, share the episode on Instagram and tag me at Brooke Jean Unperfected to enter to win a 1-to-1 laser coaching session. Also, feel free to join me in my private Facebook community, Mommy's Mental Health Matters, where we continue the conversation. Thanks again for being here, and see you in next week's episode.